Good evening. Thanks for all attending the HARB meeting, Historical Architecture Review Board of Lower Makefield Township on January 11th, meeting beginning at 6:14 by my watch. Hopefully that's pretty close. I'd like to welcome our new liaison from the Board of Supervisors, Dan Grenier. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.
We have kind of a small agenda, so let's ask that we hold off on approving the minutes for the 3 meetings that we have to do for, and if that's okay, then we can invite in our presenter and proceed with that discussion for him. So without objection, okay, we'll do that. So, and who is our coordinator or technical person? I can't remember the name. I'm sorry. Jim?
I think it's Kirk.
Oh, Kirk. Okay.
Yeah. Or John. Either one of those guys.
Richard is now in the room.
Great. Thanks for coming again, Richard. We have a number of members here, and we would like to hear what you sent to Mr. Majewski and the explanation for that, and also for any other signage that you're pursuing, which I think is the case, right?
Yes, sir. Happy New Year, everyone.
And you.
Yeah, I sent 2 things over. One is we came back with the sign ideas again. We really didn't like the idea of putting the sign on the building and, defacing the front of the house of any sort like that. So we thought it looks great. There you go. So we went with the post mount. And Jim had suggested before, since I already own the signs, that we could, try them out in a couple different options. And this one is pretty strong. So we're hoping to move forward with this one. We installed some lights on it. But yeah, that's what we're looking at right now. It's the same sign that was up before. It was was it 30? I have that 30 by 40, I believe. It's mounted on a 6x6 timber, and it doesn't take away from the house at all.
So this is what you wanted us to consider tonight, just this one alone, or you have other?
Also, I sent out
to present.
The ADA handicap ramp, which is a 30 by 4 foot ramp that will be, if you're looking at that sign, it basically be behind those trees, directly behind there. And it will come off the right-hand side of the porch, straight from the side. All ADA approved with railings. Yes. You can right in there. That cursor. And the handicap will be parked right at the bottom of that ramp and have easy access right away to get on and go up in. And that will meet onto the porch on a platform that is level with that door on the right-hand side of the building. And that door will have an electronic opener, whether it's one door or a screen door. They'll both have electronic openings for the handicapped person.
Nice.
Okay, thank you. For clarity and to perhaps set the stage for further discussion tonight, the actual construction of that ramp will require drawings that I guess you'll bring before the HARB, right? Jim?
Well, I do have drawings, which I'll share with you in a second.
Thank you.
Okay, it would be good if we can, there you go. It would be nice to have that in context with that sign, but if it's right behind that, I'm hoping that we can have some 30 feet long.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
This is Jennifer. That I can understand the ramp you've shown us. We need to see it in relationship to the house, and where's the landing at the top of the ramp? How does that connect to the porch? And what happens to the existing porch railing that's there?
We can reuse that on the front side where there's a big opening. And we could, if you need some sort of gate that mocks that railing, we can do that as well. But as far as the ramp, aluminum with all the, that's all one piece, and that will button right up to the side there.
Okay, here's my point. When you have a ramp, you need to have a flat landing up, and then obviously you've got a landing at the bottom, which the landing at the bottom is great. So you've provided that. The landing at the top needs to be where someone has a place to rest, turn their chair, and then actually get onto the ramp. Right now, I'm seeing a straight run, and you're saying it's parallel with the house?
Parallel with the street?
Yes, with the street. And once they come up on the porch, yes, there will be a platform that it meets that'll go across the front of the door. So they have plenty of room inside the railing and on the platform that is level with that door opening to turn around and be as comfortable as they need to. Roll right in.
Is the ramp behind the shrubs?
Yes, ma'am. That will end up, and then it will be right where that cursor is. And the bottom of the ramp is approximately right behind that ramp post.
Okay, at the top of the ramp, and you will notice on your drawing of the actual, this is a pre-manufactured ramp, I'm assuming from
Yes,
the look of the construction, that there is an extension of the handrail of a foot onto the landing at the top. So I would say that there might be some impact by that extension of the handrail into the space at the top of the stairs, unless you made some other accommodation for a 1 foot flat extension to take that place and make it part of the actual ramp construction and keep the extended handrail from impacting the top of the stairs.
Do you understand what he's saying? I don't think he can visualize what you mean, Steve.
Yeah. Jim, can you put your cursor on that since I don't have control of this?
Okay. Up on your screen right now, do you see the picture of the house or the picture of the railing?
The house.
The house.
Okay, let me change it then. Hold on a second. So Steve's talking about this little area right here. It extends out past where your landing is.
Yeah, there's a transition plate right there on the right-hand side from the ramp to the plate.
And now will the porch come in right here at this location? Or does it stop here?
I thought that was the bottom. That's the top of the ramp?
That's the top of the ramp.
Yeah, right at the top of the ramp.
Oh, this is the top.
Transition plate is where the arrow is, where it says transition plate, where that meets level is where the
Mounts to the porch.
mounts to the porch, and that's where it will be level to the porch.
Okay, so in other words, piece doesn't stick out past where it hits the porch, because it's going to hit the porch right here, and the rail will be even with that, and then the transition plate is the little area on the porch. So this is where it hits the porch on this side, the right side of the drawing.
Yes.
Okay.
Are you sure about that, or is it the other side?
Well, I think we have to be requiring that, Jim. Otherwise, we're going to have the impact. But it looks like if that is accommodating a flat, it says roller. What does that say? I'm having
Roller at the bottom is for, they're just for if the plate flexes on the concrete.
That's the bottom of the ramp, right?
okay.
There's a transition plate at both ends, but the one that you're showing there is the top end that's right on top of the porch, and it transitions the person in the wheelchair from the ramp to the porch without a bump. It's hinged.
Okay.
Is there a angle at the bottom of the ramp too?
It's tapered at the bottom of the ramp.
All right. Since the
Who's that
extension,
speaking?
sorry, Jim. Since the extension has to be there, in any event, we would probably be advising our applicant here to have a bit of a landing attached to it if it's not already there, so that the horizontal extension of the handrail will take place as part of the ramp and not impact the clear space at the top of the steps. And the posts, the columns, will be at the end of that horizontal handrail extension. Jim?
Rich, was that your father speaking before?
Father's here with me. Yes.
Sorry
yes.
about that.
Yes.
Okay, that's Rick Van Horn. So
Yes.
that's for Janelle, so she knows who was speaking.
Yes, sir.
Sorry about that.
No problem.
So is that clear to you, Richard, what I was suggesting? And I'm sure the other members might have something to chime in on that or add to that. I know Jennifer is trying to make it as clear as, and hopefully we understand it well enough.
The concern here is for the railing. You're saying it's going to stick out and hit, and then take space from the customer walking in.
No, I think to maximize your space where the wheelchair is turning around, they don't want a piece of that rail coming onto the porch. And I think the way it's designed is that's back here. I think we lost them.
No, they're there.
Still there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
The other concern I would have is that the edge of the porch then becomes the edge of the landing, and normally that landing would provide some kind of protection or guard rail for the person in the wheelchair so they wouldn't go off the top tread of the steps, the existing steps. So we might have to take a look at where that is actually located in the side railing of the porch, and maybe have it so that there's enough clearance from the top step so that the top step has at least a foot of, call it nosing, before someone would be going over the edge of that top step as they turned onto the ramp.
Talked about that in the front there, right where the cursor is.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we did talk about that. I think we were contemplating putting that same type of a rail. We contacted somebody that can make us that railing, or we can use that existing piece that we're taking out of there to do just that, to protect that person from going back down the steps. So we definitely are going to do that. We just didn't know if a piece of aluminum railing that matches the ramp would be acceptable, or would that white railing be preferred for the front?
I actually have one question about the height of the deck. Do you know how high that deck is off the ground?
It's 30 inches. That's
Okay,
how we.
because the code set right now greater than 30 inches has to have a railing. If it's 30 inches or under, you don't have to have a railing.
Okay.
In the front.
And the front and those steps, you only have 3 steps. It's 4 or more requires a handrail.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
the way it's constructed right now, building codes wise, it's actually okay.
Okay.
Mhm. And it's actually a little less because that top step there is less than that. The total 30-inch mark is at the step of the door, because there's a little.
Okay. So you're definitely under that 30-inch marker.
You're
Yes.
definitely under the 30-inch. And what we were going to do on the porch is build a wooden platform large enough to turn around and go into, and that's where that transition plate will go to, that platform.
I'm not ADA accessible. Don't have my ADA accessibility requirement certification, but I believe from what you guys are saying is that transition strip will lay flat on that porch area, and that porch will serve as the turnaround point or the landing. Is that what you guys are saying?
Well, we're going to have to build the porch up in about a 5 foot by maybe almost 6 feet area, maybe a little less, 5 by 5, to be able to turn around and go right into the door.
Okay.
So in essence, you'll have the 2 steps that you see in the front, and then the 1 step onto the porch, and you'll have it'll look like another step to go up to that platform, and that platform actually takes you right into the door, the entrance door. So the ADA ramp will go right to that platform, and the transition plate is designed from what they explained to us, so that there's not a bump at the top. There's a piano type hinge in it, and the hinge allows for the flexibility. The rollers are at the bottom just to create, so that you don't have you have flexibility. The ramp can flex a little bit if it has to.
Yeah, I don't know if the other members are aware, but ADA requirements, when our building code official looks at it, there's no wiggle room. They have to go by the ADA code requirements. So the way it's designed, it has to go through our building official and the accessibility so that it meets those code requirements. So when you apply for that permit, so the other members are aware, it's not something that we can adjust. It has to go by those requirements.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's understood.
I've got a question about the 4th step you're recommending. How high is it supposed to be in your preliminary calculations?
The distance between the bottom of the door, the floorway when you step up to go into the building there, I think was 6 inches or 5.5 inches. I got to measure that again to be sure.
Right.
But so that platform basically that we're going to build is that distance. So there's a nice transition to go in, and it's going to look like a step, but I think we still would want to put some of that railing there, just aesthetically and just for safety conscious. We're not comfortable with that being real open, no matter, when somebody comes up and they need to, they're sitting on a porch there, in a wheelchair. You get that feeling you just should have something there, But it would look like that from the road. I guess that's the way I explained it, because of that, whatever that platform is we build, we're going to paint the same color as the step, the step and the porch.
What is the existing rise on the steps that are there now?
I would have to measure it, but it's not real high. It's like 6 inches, I think, that's there now. The treads.
You want that platform to be uniform with that rise, so you don't have trippers, people walking up and tripping.
Yeah, well, they won't be walking on that, because the the platform's only for the wheelchair. So someone would walk up the steps to the left of that and then step up onto that on the porch and go in that door. Like they would step up and then turn left and go into the porch, where the wheelchair coming from the right side.
So are you taking the steps away then? So people don't come up those steps?
Still have steps in the front.
No, I'm asking about, there are two sets of steps. Are you saying that able-bodied people will not use the steps by the ramp? They'll be using the other steps?
They could use the other steps if they want, yes.
What if they don't?
Yeah.
Then they can use the step by the ramp. There's enough, it's a real wide step.
Right.
So enough room to walk right up the steps and not have to walk up to where the handicap, where the riser plate is. There's like 36 inches of steps that are not anywhere near the where the platform is to go into the door.
Well, if there might be a way to simplify this. Why can't an able-bodied person go up the steps, hit your extra platform level that's the full width of the steps, and then enter that door that's also accessible?
Okay, I don't follow you.
I think it's what we were saying. They still can do that. They still can go right up there on those steps. There'll be plenty of opening there on the right to go up and go in.
You're saying we just make that platform longer to match the steps.
Right.
So that person would take one more step onto that platform when he's facing the house instead of going up onto the porch and then turn right and step on the platform.
Yeah.
That can be done, yeah.
I think that simplifies the scenario. Yeah.
So Jennifer, my understanding of what you're saying, and I think I agree with it, is that you have a fourth step that goes up to the landing that is going to be the platform at the top of the ramp. And that might necessitate handrails, but it certainly would facilitate and simplify the transition of the ramp and the top landing so that they all can take place at the height of the interior elevation of the first floor.
Right.
Is that the case, Richard?
Yes.
That was real. Well, yeah, we talked about making that platform longer like that too. You know, we didn't know if that was a good idea or not a good idea.
So it would have to be the full width of the opening between the two posts on the porch on a facade, between two on the right. And then there would be a step up to that landing coming from the porch on the left of that landing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, correct. That's correct.
Yeah, that would definitely simplify it. That's for the landing discussion, but I have a real reservation about putting a ramp parallel with the street when the less obstructing kind of impact would be to have it run down the side of the house, whether it's a straight run or you buy a prefabbed L-shaped ramp.
In other words, you have a landing right there where your cursor is.
Yeah.
And then come in. That's if you don't mind asking, why would it not be a good idea to be parallel to the street if there's foliage in front of it and stuff? Is it for looks or for safety?
Yeah, I'm talking about aesthetics. The design guidelines really push forward the idea of doing impacts to the streetscape view that are inobtrusive or severely compatible. And right now, an aluminum ramp is obviously a modern intervention, which is necessary to have a ramp. I'm looking for a way to have a lesser impact.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, we definitely were going to have some type of arborvitaes in front of it, you know, when we were all said and done. But you're saying you would prefer something to go along the side of the house and then have a landing right there, and they would just come up to that landing and then turn in. But in other words, they would call that a switchback almost, where you would you know, if it went to another ramp, it would be a switchback, but it'd be a landing and then onto the porch.
That switchback would bring you back toward the street. I was suggesting an L shape if your handicap parking is where the bottom of the ramp lands. We don't have a site plan. I don't know how you've figured out your parking lot.
Jennifer, that's the question I was going to ask, actually.
Not having all the plans and elevations showing the changes proposed. And it might be something that we need to table and ask the applicant to present at a time when that has been at least reviewed by someone who has ADA approval or capability. And in the meantime, we can at least look at the signage and give a positive or negative reply on that, if that would help. And, when we are up against the critical nature of satisfying the requirements for handicap accessibility, it is certainly a valuable thing to have all the information available to that, and it can say, these are the things we can change, and these are the things we have some say over. So if our applicant wouldn't mind going a little further and making another presentation about this with more visual support, that would really help our determination, since it is basically a visual consideration that we're talking about for our approval.
I was going to say, Rich, if you want, you can send me an email and I could help work with you to get that, like the site plan, and put you in touch with our building inspector so we can work those things out and maybe get a visual representation for them.
Cool. That sounds great.
And we have been in touch and asking a lot of questions about the ADA. So we have, measurements and sizes and the pitch of the ramp and stuff. So we're getting as much of that information as possible too, to put into that.
Okay. Well, I can at least help you get the site plan and stuff so they can get a better idea of,
Great.
how it's going to look.
Okay.
That would be great.
All right.
Sounds
Can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
I work in civil engineering. We do site plan layouts all the time for parking and whatnot. I'm curious, and this is getting to Jennifer's, building on what you were saying, Jennifer, about what your parking layout's going to be and where your handicap parking's going to be, because I don't know the site very well. I know where it is. I'm looking at the street view right now on my own screen, and it looks like your parking would probably be closer to the building versus further away towards the road cut, where you would, if you were to come straight off of the porch, you'd be going towards your means of ingress or egress, it looks like, versus if you do that L and you come down the side of the building, it's probably gonna, I don't know that you're gonna do this, but it's probably gonna be closer to where you want to put your handicap spaces. So if you could integrate your handicap spaces into where you would be coming on and off the ramp, that may simplify things for you a great deal. And then it also makes it safer for the person on the ramp to get in and out of their vehicle and not have to swing wide, so to speak, towards the ingress egress point and then come up the ramp and then do it again on their way out. And I don't know if Mr. Majewski's had a chance to talk to you about your parking layout, but if you can integrate those two, it might make it that much simpler for you.
We spoke a little bit on it at the last meeting, and I believe someone said we only need to be approved one designated handicap spot. And, depending on the approval of the ramp and this ADA application, the object is to have that person pull right in and have the first spot right next to that and have comfortable room to get on that ramp or application and come up the deck. So yes, if it was going to come straight down and we got approved for tonight's idea, they'd pull in and it'd be right on the right-hand side of the ramp. Now, if it goes on some sort of switchback and it makes a left going down the side of the house, wherever that ramp lands will be the parking spot will be. And also, that being said, this isn't a place of business where we have we don't even ever have 4 cars parking at the same time. So, they're right next to where that handicap spot will be. There'll probably be another 2 or 3 spots, and that's pretty much it. And then on the other side of the property, where my personal parking will be, I will welcome customers if I need the space that day to park over there where there's already parking.
Great
Is this a skate
idea,
shop?
Dan, to have that integrated. I believe that that's one of those other things that I was suggesting would have impact on the decisions you make with the facade of the house. So if you can get all that together and present it next time, I would hope that you can maybe wrap it all up then, and that our continual requirement for more information will not be too odious. I did want to make a comment in regards to what Jennifer said earlier, that there's certainly a number of schools of thought about how to approach adding new materials and new accommodations to historic structures. And one of them is to try and keep the same flavor or the same style of construction as this, pretty simple house with, a little bit of embellishment in the handrails, etc. But certainly a second way of looking at it would be that an aluminum fabricated or prefabricated piece of construction stating a fact that this is new and we're going to recognize it as such, and we're going to make it as simple as possible so as not to have a negative impact on the building, as a second school of thought. So if you can give some consideration to that and to what Jennifer said, I think we should be in good shape as to come up with some kind of full resolution by next time we get together. As for the signs, does any other member of the board have other impact on or comment on that?
I've got 2 things. One is just to close up on the ramp conversation.
Sure.
I know you're trying to do this mostly with your own research, and that's fine. The ramp fabricator, that company, may have a design service that you could tell them we'd like for an L shape or a ramp that comes back on itself, because you're trying to figure out the best layout based on your site. And they may be able to give you some sketches that show different options. So I would take advantage of any design service they have there. They certainly want to sell you a ramp, but you definitely should be able to explore your other options, your other shapes. That's all. I don't know if you've asked them about that, but.
Yeah, definitely those options, and we can get moving on that. I guess my question is, even if it goes down the side of the house, is that still going to be okay to use the aluminum material, or should we scrap the aluminum material
and go with a wood ramp? I mean,
It's not, that's not what Steve was saying. Is there are 2 schools of thought when it comes to additions to historic structures. You can try to make them compatible with similar materials, or you can make them stand out as, hey, this is a modern intervention. So with your aluminum ramp idea, it's obviously a modern intervention. What we're trying to do is just lessen the impact from the pedestrian right of way, which is the street.
Mm-hmm.
So
parallel with the street is definitely more of an eyesore than it going down the side.
correct. And I don't want to say eyesore as much as down the side may put you in a better position relative to your parking lot.
Okay.
I don't know if your parking lot is actually going to be 30 feet from the house or more. That's a small lot.
Yes.
Dan, I was thinking the parking lot might be closer.
Yeah, I think that where the vehicle would park would be, the back of the vehicle would be at the right, almost at the bottom of the ramp. So you would get out and you would get on a ramp there, you would have a path. See what you're, so we've thought of both options. I guess we just felt that other straight ramp was less transition for, for the person, So, but we definitely look at that.
Is that an aluminum roof? Over the porch?
Yes, it's an old one, but yes.
I was just curious. I love this committee because you get to think about this stuff. I was wondering if they make a prefab ramp that you could mimic that same color or tone of that aluminum roof for consistency.
Oh, that's just steel up top, I think. That's a steel roof.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, is it? Okay.
It's a metal roof, but yeah, but it's not, I don't think it's aluminum.
Okay.
That's standing seam metal.
Okay.
So
I grew up in Maine where everyone has a snow roof that looks fairly similar. They're usually aluminum up there.
So I'm sorry, I digressed, and the next question was about the sign. I think your sign is quite nice. I would love to see that wood painted, maybe black or
Okay.
white.
Yeah, whichever you prefer, we can make it happen.
That's all I have to say. Thanks.
Is that a yeah, I mean, I don't mind painting it at all. I'm just trying to make sure I come back around with maybe a one-shot solution next time. Should I go black or should I go white or just go whatever I decide? I personally thought it looked nice, natural, but
I did have one question for the applicant. Originally, you had two signs, the mountable sign that you have on the post. Then you had another longer sign that you were thinking about putting along this railing, or you suggested maybe putting it in this area where the lattice is. Is that sign still in the works right now?
the sign is no longer in the works. They're just going to keep it simple, one sign, just like a lot of other folks around there have with posts. Works well.
Thank you.
As for the consideration of the color, you might want to think about how this makes a statement with the existing posts that are supporting the porch roof. I don't think white would be a bad solution for that. I think at the moment it appears to be kind of hanging out there all by itself, almost like it's levitating. The wood surface does disappear into the shrubbery. I'm sure when the shrubbery is green, that won't appear that as much that way. But to have it be call even more attention to itself, having a white post might not be a bad idea.
That's not no problem.
Yeah, there's a better picture there.
Yeah.
Do yourself a favor and give it a month before you paint it, or you're not going to like the results.
Why is that? Because
It's green, it's got and it's treated. So just let the treatment evaporate out of it and let it dry.
okay.
Will this sign be lit up at night?
Yes, there is solar panel lights mounted onto it right now.
Great.
They should have a couple of those photos too with it already. Tested it out for the first time last night.
Yeah, they have them, right?
Yeah.
Sounds good. So can we come to a resolution on the board and have
That's nice.
give them at least some indication? So have a motion.
Well, I'll make a motion to accept the hanging sign as in their, which is actually going to be their installation, with the recommendation that the post be painted either black or white to make it appear more finished.
No problem.
Any second for that?
Second.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Kathleen. Unless there's some input from the public, Kirk?
No public comment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any last words from our applicant? I didn't mean to shut you down.
I think we're pretty good. I guess we'll get some other paperwork in front of us, and I'll communicate with Mike, and we'll get some of these ramp things worked out, and make sure it's all up to code ADA, and I'll get to painting the sign.
Okay, well, let me call the question on the signage. All in favor? Aye. Negative? Okay, unanimous positive vote, if you can make note of that. And we thank you for your presentation tonight, and wish you all the best with your endeavor here.
Thank you.
And just to let you know, Rich, this will go in front of the Board of Supervisors at their next meeting, which is a week from Wednesday on the 20th, and they will formally vote on the recommendation given by Harvard this evening.
Okay. For the sign, that is.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Correct.
Cool.
Great.
Jim, will the Van Horns be making a presentation to the board or no?
Not unless the board wants to, but we always like to have them available just in case there are any questions from the Board of Supervisors. The nice thing is that they do have the sign up there at the site, so the board can easily drive by anytime in the next week and a half just to see what they think, and they could actually visualize it because it'll be there.
Okay, so that just means I don't need to give a supervisor's report next meeting. So we'll already have it done.
Right.
Good.
Okay, so we can move along to the next order of business, which I believe would be the minutes from the last few meetings. Has anyone reviewed the July meeting? Or has everyone reviewed the July meeting? And do we have a recommendation for acceptance?
I move to accept the July meeting minutes.
I'll second it.
Okay, any comments? All right, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great. Let me make a comment, at least on the minutes, before we move along on the July minutes. When I read through, I must say I was a little chagrined that I came. Then in the minutes, it came across so heavy-handed, and I apologize, Mike, for being so didactic and asking you to hold back on the opinion of
That's okay.
that you had on the house. So I certainly didn't mean to be such a curmudgeon.
I'm married. I'm used to being told to keep quiet, so it's okay.
So
I hope she's not listening.
Anyway, my apologies.
That's okay. Thank you.
The September meeting, then we have has everybody reviewed those? Great. So we have a motion on that.
I'll make a motion to approve the September meeting minutes.
The second.
I'll second it. Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Beat you.
Thank you. Yes, very good. And if without any further comment, I'll call the question. All in favor of approving the minutes? Aye.
Aye.
And
Any negatives? Nay. Okay. Wow, good. We're moving right along. Thank you. So the next one under consideration would be the December minutes. Are any information on that? Has everybody had a chance to review it? Great. Okay. So I'm going to have a motion on that.
A motion that we approve the December's meeting minutes.
A second. Thank you, Kathleen. So, unless there's further comment on that, let me ask for votes on approval of that. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Right. Thank you. So the motion carries unanimous for that meeting. Appreciate your cooperation and getting that little bit of housekeeping out of the way. Hopefully, Dan, if you've had a chance to read them, it'll give you some background on, what we're trying to do and how we're trying to do it. If there's any questions, certainly feel free to call on me and, or Luba. I'm sure she'd be happy to talk about her plan, and any of the other members, I'm sure. The last thing on our agenda would be reorganization. If there's any change in leadership, now would be the time to do it. So, any nominations for chair?
I'll nominate Steve.
Okay, I'll accept the nomination. Thank you. Hopefully, I'll be able to continue with some sense of decorum. Any other candidates? Then shall we all, if you will just approve by saying aye, and we'll move on. Aye. Thank you.
Tim, do you want to tell us what the other positions are that we have to?
We have secretary and I believe vice chair. So let's do vice chair next. Take over if I'm not here. Kathleen, would you serve?
Sure.
Okay. Thank you. I'll nominate Kathleen. And any other nominations? Or approve those nominations. So I guess, do you have to have a second? No. It's a nomination, right? Any other nominations for that position? Okay, let's go through the motions. All in favor of Kathleen for vice chair, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Then secretary, which is basically signing the formalized minutes, so it's not much. So, Jennifer, do you want to serve again, or?
I'm happy to, but Jeff, would you like to do that?
Come on, Jeff. We'd be happy to.
Steve, what was involved with that again?
Just
Secretary.
just signing minutes that you don't write.
That's fine.
Okay. Jennifer, are you nominating Jeff then?
I'm going to nominate Jeff.
All right.
Thanks, Jennifer.
Any other nominations? Okay, then let's formalize that. All in favor of Jeff Herco for secretary? Aye. Thank you. Any new business?
Steve, are we down a committee member?
We are looking, and I think.
Yeah, we need a real estate agent, don't we?
It's been advertised. I think we could ask them to make a little bit more of it in the upcoming newsletter.
And Steve, one thing I am happy to do, if you have, I know HARB is a little different from others, of course, because you have specific positions by regulation, and people have to have specific backgrounds to fill the said positions. So if you have, and I understand it's supposed to be a real estate broker versus a realtor versus someone I know, and they all have slightly different definitions. So if you have any sort of write-up at all, no matter how simple it is, I would be happy to, do my best salesman voice at the Board of Supervisors meeting, and also blast it far and wide through the social media universe to see if we can't get some folks. we certainly have a lot of realtors in Lower Makefield. I'm not sure if they qualify as real estate brokers per se, but might be a good way to get some interest behind it. If you have something you want me to put out there, I know Jim does the same thing. So between the two of us, we can get it out there and get the word out what you need.
Thank you.
Fine, thank you. Any way that we can get the message out, that would be fine. Certainly valuable to have another voice. Other new business would be the information provided from Dave Miller. Any thoughts about maybe having Mr. Miller actually join us at one of our meetings and describe his vision? I thought about it myself, but don't want to steal from his obvious care for the area, and I think it makes a lot of sense. And maybe depending on who actually owns all of that, I think some of it is part of the parcel of the farm. Jim, do you know offhand the property that Dave was talking about, if it has actual attachment to the Patterson farm?
That's where the old Patterson driveway used to come through.
Yeah, a portion of that is township property. The stretch here between the Van Horn house that we just discussed and up to the property that there used to be a house here that I believe burned down. And then Dave Miller's property is here. So there is this stretch here that is owned by the township and is part of Patterson Farm.
Would the subdivision and sale of that be an asset for the township to consider?
I'd have to check to see if there's any restrictions when we put the conservation easement on that, if that can be removed from that or not. Different conservation easements are written different ways, and I don't recall if that was part of the eased part of the property or not.
Well, if you could do some of that research, perhaps I could talk to Dave and see if he'd be willing to come and make a further presentation. It would be helpful, I believe, to have him explain it in his own words. I think we all got the idea. Basically, we're doing infill. I don't see that as a negative aspect. I think it's rather bold move and worthwhile to consider.
And the next meeting would be Monday, February 8th, also at 6 p.m.
I see. Well, I'll make a note of that, and I'll give Dave a call and see if he'd be willing to come, unless the members have some other way they'd like to handle this.
Steve, if I could, if that section of the farm is under easement, and if it's the type of conservation I think it is, if it is under easement in that section, then it's very, very difficult to remove that easement from any property. But if it's not, so what I'm saying is, if Jim looks into it and finds that it's a specific type of easement that's really difficult, I don't want to say it would be a waste of his time, but he should be aware of that before he ever plans anything out, because it may be a non-starter. But if it's not, it could be a really interesting presentation. So you might want to ask him to hold off a little bit until Jim's able to find you an answer on that one. I just having dealt with those easements in the past in the private sector, they can be quite difficult to remove or amend, let's say.
Well, it's all valuable information that you're passing along. Appreciate that, Dan. If you, Jim, if you do find anything out kind of right away, let me know. But I think in general, his idea of infill and how we should approach that might also be something that we could advertise to developers. Let's say somebody wants to come in and find a way to replace that house that was burned, and how to utilize the road frontage in order to do that might be part of the consideration. All that stuff is development stuff and has to do with setbacks and restrictions and curb access for the highway. So all those things are something that would have to be well planned in advance, but to have an idea up front would be, I think, stimulating and worthwhile. So I'll do that if you will help me, Jim. I appreciate that. And Dan, if you have any further insight, please feel free to call. Any other business that we should attend to? Okay, hearing none, let's entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
I'll
Is there
second
a
that.
second?
I'll second it.
At 10 after 7, we can adjourn the meeting for the Lower Makefield Harbor. Thank you. And I think it was a very pleasant meeting. Appreciate your attendance. Thanks. Good night.